The charity fund in the sphere of support of social and cultural initiatives of Leila Adamyan presents Reproductive Tomorrow of Russia. Health for school children is our care. Good morning, dear friends and dear colleagues. We wish you a very happy holiday on the occasion of the Day of Knowledge. I believe that knowledge is power. It's the power of occupation, power of the family, power of the profession, power of the state, and I'm very happy that we have gathered in such a big and beautiful team here. This is an educational university which demonstrates the latest achievements in science and practice, mostly in the sphere of reproductive health. Those who weren't able to come here can watch us on the internet, and right in front of me there is a TV set, so I can see what we are saying, what we look like, and how great we are. The next presenter will speak about the problems of psychological support of boys and girls as an important factor for preservation of their reproductive health and future. You know that we all have a lot of stress in our life, at the school, in the family. Girls may have problems on the street, in personal life, as we already know. So, the floor is given to the Associate Professor of the Department of Reproductive Medicine and Surgery at the Moscow Medical Stomatological University and lecturer of the University of Leila Adamyan, Victoria Kasyan. The floor is yours. Once again, at the Open University, we are going to talk about psychological support and psychological problems. Believe me, the psyche and reproduction are very closely interrelated. Just take any aspect of medicine. The main rule is do not harm. In respect of children and adolescents, it is of course the first thing that we should remember. Let us see what we can do in the first place. Why psyche and reproduction are interconnected. Again, I refer to the definition provided by the WHO. Reproductive health is not only physical, mental and social well-being, absence of problems and diseases of the reproductive system, but it's also a psychosexual relationship at all the stages of life. Without this aspect, health is impossible. Today, there is a science called reproductive psychology, which explores the interaction between the psychological and physiological aspects of the reproductive system. This science assists young men and women with their psychological problems. Again, I'm getting ahead of the presentation. This science helps to cope with the so-called psychological infertility. Believe me, this is a very frequent thing. Now we will talk about the problems of adolescence. It is a period from 12 to 16 years, and juvenile age, which is the period of reproductive system maturation. It is an important stage towards our future, our reproductive tomorrow. The average age of the puberty onset is 8 to 13 years. Just look at the number of processes: sudden growth of everything, growth of mammary glands, appearance of secondary sexual characteristics, pubic hair, menstruation at the end, etc. All these things happen with a high intensity of physiological processes in such a short time. It is almost comparable to what occurs in the uterus. In addition to that, a lot of things are happening. The shape and appearance change. In some aspects, adolescents become somewhat angular, disproportionate. Things grow sharply, weight fluctuates, someone is becoming thinner, someone on the contrary is gaining weight. Cosmetic problems appear. You know, even an absolutely normal child has to live it through. What he sees as his reflection in the mirror is changing every day. These changes are physiological, but they also may lead to stress, isolation, neurosis, inferiority complexes. What do you think? Do we need parents parent help and support in this situation? Or we just could wave a hand and say, it'll pass, everything will grow up, everything will be fine. We already know that in the regulation of the reproductive system, both in adolescent and adult female, there is this hierarchy. And believe me, indeed, the cortex of the brain and psyche are the main regulators of the reproductive function. They are very clear mechanisms which may fail. It may also happen due to chronic stresses. As we know, teenagers may have mood swings varying from normal, from joy to aggression, anger, and so on. And this hormonal storm is happening during this emotional tempest. That is why all these adolescence problems are well explained by physiology. It is absolutely clear that all these problems sooner or later result in a number of problems in boys and girls. Emotional instability, changing appearance, how to build relations with parents, with the opposite sex, at school, during extracurricular activities, and so on. All these things make us think about the questions of sexual development and problems of bad habits and sexually transmitted infections, especially when there is an early sexual life. These problems are really numerous. It is actually much easier to criticize and to blame by saying, I didn't bring you up like that, you are wrong. But believe me, it is important for a 4-year-old child to be cuddling on your lap, to feel sympathy. Adolescents have the same need too. We must help him to cope with his physiological processes. You should not oppose and teach lessons. You should explain the physiological processes which are happening to them. Truly, it'll pass. But you have to live that through, and you must accept your child as he is. Once again, if it is necessary, you should contact experts. So there is nothing wrong or shameful in that. On the contrary, you will gain more. Moreover, we all know the conditions of chronic stress in which our childs are growing. This becomes especially scary when this is compounded by bad relations in the family, if the parents are on the verge of divorce or different kinds of violence, physical, moral, mental, or sexual, bad habits of parents, communication difficulties at school, constant excessive work, participation in drama clubs, photo clubs, and singing clubs, tutors, exams, and so on and so forth. Outward appearance is changing. It is a pathology risk factor for the reproductive system. It is a chronic stress and pressure for the child. And especially if we already face some problems of pediatric gynecology, disorders in the menstrual cycle, bleeding, developmental malformations, pain syndromes, the child needs the assistance not only of a doctor, but also he needs a helping hand of his parents. To help him, provide information, prepare for the surgery, if it is needed, help in overcoming the rehabilitation period, entertain, distract from problems, provide a helping hand. The parent's helping shoulder is much more important here. Believe me, we must talk with our children. Unfortunately, some things are usually hushed, some things are viewed as the responsibility of the school, but children whose parents talk to them about sexual development, sexual education, these children feel better and more confident. They easily build their relations, they can talk better with their partners, and if they engage in sexual life, they are more likely to use protection. They know how to talk with their loved ones. We should discuss things with our children honestly and openly. Discuss all the physiology and all possible consequences, because the forbidden fruit is sweet. What should we talk with our children about? Again, I'd like to refer to the World Health Organization. From 4 years old, we start the sexual education of our children. At 6 to 7 years old, children should be able to maintain personal hygiene, be able to say no, say what they don't like. It's very clear, there are underwear rules. Nobody must touch the body parts that are covered with underwear. At 6 years old, the child should already know that. At 13 years old, our children should have a clear idea about where babies come from, and later they must understand what may happen even after a single sexual contact. It may result in inflammations and potential pregnancy risk. We must explain, not intimidate. Just look in Holland, where sex education starts from 6 years old. The frequency of teenage pregnancy is very low, though children know everything. And for example, some communities that grow next to a church still live a very active sexual life despite the promotion of abstinence. But they have a lot of other problems. If you are unable to shield your children from early entry into sexual life, from early sexual contact, anyway, talk to him about contraception, openly calling a spade, providing all the necessary information. And of course, it should be based on very clear mutual trust relations with your child. First and foremost, all these things must happen with the promotion of a healthy lifestyle in the family. Our children are our mirror. They are not the mirror of the street nor of the school. They are the reflection of our our family. If you say, I didn't bring you up like that, that is not true. Our children is what we are. And if, God forbid, they start living an early sexual life, just look at the reasons. They are most often boredom, idleness, desire to be attractive, lack of love, lack of attention, and all other problems that we face, such as pregnancy, inflammations, social and moral problems, and so on. We must occupy our children. We must trust our children. This way we will help them to preserve their reproductive health. When our children are occupied, they have less time for all those bad habits. But again, we should start with ourselves. If the mother and the father pass their evenings with a bottle of beer in front of the TV set, that's what your child will do. And all the effects on reproduction are known to you. We often speak about them. So how to prevent negative consequences? We should speak with our children, occupy our children. It is very important to build intimacy and trust. You must not discuss their problems in public, otherwise your child will never come to you with his issues again. This is an issue of trust. It is sex education. It is explanation of the physiological development, and most importantly, it is the cult of health in the family. Children will do what their parents usually do. All these things contribute to a healthy reproductive system and most importantly contribute to the shaping of our future healthy generation. So here is the value, the family value, and this value must be in the 21st century too. Thank you for your attention. Now, dear friends and dear colleagues, the agenda of our conference, which was devoted to the reproductive health of children and adolescents, or the first conference of today, is over. You have heard about all the aspects of reproductive health and all the aspects of disorders that may happen in children and adolescents. This is about school medicine, this is about educating children by parents, this is about pediatric gynecology and obstetrics with gynecology in general. Why is it an open university? Because it is open. For you. I don't know who you are. Doctors and not doctors, young and adult people, mothers and grandmothers, gynecologists and other specialists. And it is also open to the whole world. We talk about you, we show this information through you, and we're being watched today. We have the information in the city. Here we have Professor Leonid Pechatnikov and his wife. We are grateful to the Minister of Health of Moscow, Professor Hripun, the Deputy Minister of Health of the Moscow region, Irina Soldatova. Many of you have come here at her invitation, and we're grateful to Oleg Filipov. He is from the Ministry of Health of Moscow. So it is not merely a conference, it is a conference which is recognized and is recommended, and it gives us the green light. And this is our university, which is represented here today by the professorial staff. This is the chief pediatric gynecologist of the city, Elena Sibirskaya. Please stand here. And this is Professor of the Department of Reproductive Medicine and Surgery, Director of the Institute of Reproductive Medicine of the Russian Endocrinology Center, Yelena Andreeva. This is the Professor Alexander Konoplyannikov, Professor of the department where the head was Ms. Savelyeva and now it is Ms. Kurtsa, Chief Obstetrician Gynecologist of our city who helps us with everything. And please remember him and contact him directly, Alexander Konoplyannikov. This is a correspondent member of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Olga Bukeria. These are our lecturers. Associate Professor Victoria Kasyan, please come over. This is Yelena Gritskevic, please come over. This is Professor Vladimir Kuzmin, come over please. This is Yana Aznaurova, graduate student, a brilliant scholar and winner of contests. Come over, please. This is Andrei Popryaduhin. He is a student and a doctor. He can already assume an enormous responsibility. He loves people very much and he tries hard. This is Dinara Salimova. Where is she? Please come here. In the second part, we will present you other doctors, but since we have such a beautiful team here, so please come over. This is Victoria Dementieva. These are the people who worked with you today. Let us thank them. See you at the next conferences of the Open University of Leila Adamyan.